Hello guys, how you doing? This is Shifuwealth with you, and today's video is basically teaching us something that is very important, which is how to know when to sell a crypto coin you bought or invested. The first time I did a topic like this was I think in 2021, when the euphoria of the bull market was so much and a lot of people were buying, but few persons were being carried away by their emotions without knowing what to sell. I did that on our first prior YouTube channel, and it blew up very well before we had issues with the YouTube channel, and it was hacked and we lost whatever and it was shut down itself. So we had to create which our new YouTube channel, which we are using on right now. You're watching this video on, and in 2022 last year, I decided to write a thread on how to know when to sell. And I said there's going to be like volume one and volume two. And I wrote the first thread sometime last year. So I'm going to be telling us how to know when to sell from that thread. Then I'm going to give us two other ways to know. Basically, this is going to give you like an edge to know how to follow whatever call, alpha calls and alpha gems that comes through me or any other person in our community. You could literally know how to maximize it by yourself. You don't have to wait for anybody to tell you what to do, because trading is all about you being able to know how to use your own initiative. So what you need is the right teaching, and once you have the right teaching, you get the right information, then you take the right step. So let's go to my Twitter handle, my Twitter page. So if you go to my Twitter page, you are definitely going to see this, how to know when to sell off. This was in August 2022. Now I think I wrote here, when we had a bullish run last year, there was way too many persons talking about what coin to buy, and and I did this with majority into the Web3 community and cryptos already knowing how to buy, but only few persons know when they should sell what they have bought. Yet knowing when to sell is as much important as even knowing when to buy. Now there are three factors that helps me myself, Shifuwealth, to make a decision on when to sell a crypto. Number one, the nature of the trade. Number two, the duration of the trade. Number three, the purpose of the trade duration. I will explain this to you briefly. So to be very practical, let's make use of the calls I drop in the YouTube on YouTube or Telegram channel, or maybe from the private groups as well, because this is what differentiates people who are profitable and those who lose. Now, the point number one is you must come to terms and agreement that there is always an exit liquidity in every trade in the markets, and you don't want to be an exit liquidity, which is possible only if you are early enough to take actions and being well positioned even before the analysis paralysis folks get in. You are. So what do I mean by the nature of the trade? Number one, this means, what crypto class is this trade? Are you investing in a micro cap or a macro cap, or it is just a pure gem play? So the nature of the trade is, what kind of trade is this? What kind of alpha is this? So this nature determines my risk sizing. It determines how much I want to risk. Is this a degen? Is it a macro cap, a big or a micro cap? Is that's do they have a small micro cap or a big market capitalization? Because it will determine what I am more comfortable to hold longer or not. So that is point number one. I gave some other like then I wrote here, you must understand that a project is good doesn't mean it is the right investment to make. There are a lot of good projects in the crypto space that has failed to make people money or end up losing people more money than those making. This is where most persons with a lot of knowledge in cryptos have little results, because their analysis might be able to identify a good project. However, they might not be able to identify a smart or a wise investment. So there are two different things. You should know your focus and your concern should be taking not just a good step, but a good and wise step. The point. So let's go to points two and three. They are both intertwined, which is, I want to find out what catalysts that I am expecting for that particular coin. Based on what I'm expecting, this will determine how long I am going to hold and when I will sell, whether in profit or not. So last month I took a trade on Decentral Games, not because the project was good, which it is, but because they had a long series of events scheduled for the month, and I decided to hold throughout the month to see if this event will cause a pump in the price. However, this event took place and there was no movement in price. So quickly, I decided to close my trade position in 20% loss. Was it a good project? Yes. But is it a smart decision to hold it? No. Why? Because the catalyst for my proposed duration had already taken place and there was no major effect. So this confirms that some will favor you and some won't favor you. And whenever you get a call by myself or any influencer or shared in any community, you want to ask yourself these three things and plan your sell bias based on them. Some community like ours normally share full details of a buy alert and reasons. All you have to do is not to allow your greed think for you. This is very, very important. Like, guys, go and read through this thread again to get like some level of clarity and understanding. It is super important what I'm sharing on this particular thread. But let me put it this way. Now, for example, most times when I want to invest in a coin, there are news, there are informations. So the nature of the coin, is it this or is it that? And then that more times, maybe there are catalysts, there are things that events that are to take place in that coin that is baking me to hope that this will go up. Maybe it is centralized exchange, you want to list on a centralized exchange or this or that. Now, those events will determine if I should hold it longer or not, because those were the things. This is what spur me. Is what makes my interest to be able to buy into that particular asset. And if those things take place and the price moves, then I can take profit. If it takes and the price doesn't move, then I sell off. As simple as that. That is like what that trade teaches on, and then talks about the nature of the trade and all that. So you want to like read through that trade again. But let's go into, for example, in the VIP. In the VIP, there are three categories of informations I provide in when it comes to calls. The first is the alpha gems, and these alpha gems are they are major catalysts behind these alphas, major reasons. So I dropped this my own research report on each of these aspects, and they are mid-term plays. They are all mid-term plays, and they do very, very well. So that is based on that. So that is a different category. There are Afro gem categories, and you get to read these reasons and all that, which is a mind whether you want to be bullish or not or so. So that is one category. So I might drop some on the over time as we start this. So that is, you just know what to do. You just know what to do based when you read through. Number two is the flash alerts. Now, the flash alerts are more like degen plays. They are high risk, high reward kind of plays. But among them, some of them could turn to become alpha gems because I try to filter a lot of things before I pick. But most times, these alerts are characterized by FOMO in the community. It's characterized by community interest, community support, massive social engagement at the same time, and sometimes it's characterized by the catalyst of community and team, majorly community and team, and many a times the catalyst of the season, what is trending in that particular season. When you combine these three things, it gives you profit for the short term, profit for the short term as well. This is besides utility now. Utility now. In alpha gems, the first major thing you want to look out for is utility. But when it comes to this, you don't want to look at utility. You want to look at community. You want to look at the social engagement. You want to look at the team. These are the things. These are the major factors you want to look at on the flash alert. And this things could literally pump so well, it could also go down. So you want to know this very, very well. You don't want to allow your emotions to control you. You want to be able to take charge. So when I notice that, okay, this is the kind of trade I'm taking, this kind of trade, this I'm taking it because of this, I'm taking this because of this, and that determines how I'm going to sell all of that trade. So when it comes to flash alerts, the moment I make 50 to 100% and above, I immediately take up my capital. Immediately, I do it always. I always save my capital and then allow the profit to ride. I always save my capital and allow the profit to ride because I always use a smaller amount of money. I don't risk more than 10% of my capital. I don't risk more than 10% of my capital on a flash alert. That is what I do. I don't risk more than 10% on a flash alert. And then once I get 100% and above, I take out from 50 to 100% and above, I take up my capital and I allow the rest to ride. So people come up with different ways, different app. So when I allow the rest to ride and goes, I can now be taking profit bit by bit, bit by bit, or I could decide to. So people's interest differs. People's interest differs. So when it comes to a bigger platform, a bigger alpha gem, most times I don't even take, when it does 100%, I might not even take capital, pull out my capital. I might wait for it to move up maybe more, 200, 300, 400 before I start pulling out capital and all that as well. All it because of the catalyst and the confidence in it. And this here there's no catalyst, there's no, like, should I say, there's no confidence in it that much. It's just more like a gamble kind of a thing. So I'd want to be careful to reserve capital. It is very, very important. These are two different scenarios, but this helps you to know when to sell between this kind of trades and that kind of trade. Also, if this is going to be very helpful, like on the Telegram, House of Red Telegram, I posted, if I'm to post a call, for example, on the House of Red Telegram, there is this, you should be able to see. You should be able to see this. Uh, the four rating system. This is a four rating system that I explained on all the calls. There are calls in the categories of the gems of wealth, categories of long-term hold, degen dice, gem scan. So when you read through each of these categories, it will just help you to identify and know which one, what kind of trade is being posted. Because when the trades are posted, most times at the top you will see like gem scan or degen dice or long-term hold gems of. So you want to make sure that you go through this in case it is posted on the Telegram. You should just, once you see that, you just know, okay, this falls in this category, and this is how I should invest in this thing because it falls in this category. Because it falls in that category. So these are important factors. So I just explained three different methods to know when to sell. The first I used from the tweet on Twitter, which I showed you guys. You can go and read through that Twitter thread. The second, I talked about the example which I give in my VIP. I said there are four kinds of code. Then there are futures, but I don't want to talk about futures now. There's futures spot calls. That's a different category. Dropping the VIP. But besides that, when we talk about the alpha gems and talk about the flash alert, I use that as a case study for you guys and how we react in selling both of them and my own personal trade methodology. So you want to watch the first video I did, was it yesterday or so, about how to make 2,700% every week trading cryptos. And then finally, the third thing I use is you could just go through. So the what I did in the Telegram is basically explaining the nature of calls, categories of calls we're going to. It's like saying the nature of the call. So like the number one factor in the Twitter thread as well. Everything I said like aligns together. So you might need to watch this again, second time. That's why I try to make the videos smaller and not more than 10 to 15 minutes. So you could easily watch this again, get the points, note them down, and then be prepared to strike when calls and informations are come, and do not act as a novice looking for somebody to blame when you lost, but rather act as a, should I say, an expert who has been taught and trained with the right information from Shifu to rightly know when to buy and when to sell a trade. I hope this meet you well. Like we always say, if the student be ready, the Shifu will appear, and if the Shifu appears, what happens? The student will always prevail. See you